earlier discussed what was going on around the Japan side with Area Cup, found out how to follow Area Cup for future events, and some little bit of meta discussion. This time around, we're here with Siren Remix Fern returning from last week as well. And Siren, you were one of the casters for the SendouQ finale in Block 2.
Yes, I did get a very cool opportunity to do that. It was kind of one of those things where it's like they ask you to do it like quite a while in advance, and I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm sure this will be just like a little fun little thing, you know. And it ended up like so many people were talking about it beforehand. I'm like, oh no, what did I get myself into?
Isn't that the case with like everything though?
No, not always. A lot of events will like ask me to commentate like sometime in advance, and then it's like 10 people watching.
Fair. I we're also on the IPL channel, which is one of the largest Splatoon channels here on both Twitch, YouTube, and just in the Western scene in general. So it does kind of make sense why it could be so big, and with all of the lead up to it, with how stacked everything was, you couldn't really hide at all.
Yeah, no, there's no hiding whatsoever.
Mhm. Yeah. So, and Fern, how's it going, man? Been a second.
I'm good. Definitely. The finale was super fun to watch, so I mean,
Yeah.
right. But yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I, I'm I'm doing great. Hope chat y'all are doing great as well. But last time we did Splat Chat, we ended up doing some power rankings, and Siren, I don't know if you have seen them yet. So if CKK can like sneakily like throw them up on camera, here we go. Now you should be able to
Oh.
see that. There we go. Oh, yeah, there we go. So
Okay.
these
Oh.
Finally got it.
are our power rankings that we did with Keone on Thursday. The event has passed. How would you rate these power rankings throughout the most part?
I actually I actually need glasses. So what am I looking at? I have in that first tier, who is that?
Snails.
That is snails.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even dispute that. Um top
Yeah.
4, who's that first
Top
one?
top
FT
four.
win.
That was Met. We had the FT win in
Oh
second.
yeah,
Top
Metro.
four was
Yeah.
Metro and Vanguard.
Okay.
With
Vanguard.
Milky Way, we had at number 5.
Huh. Milky Way. Milky Way's the one right below Metro?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Moonlight and
Hypernova.
Hyper. Okay, that's their logo. Ooh.
Hmm.
hmm
Okay, and I recognize Healthy Diet Food Groups for their lack of a logo. Fried Pikmin.
It
And we
is
have top
it is
12.
such an easy team name to make a logo for, and they just have it. Like
Yeah.
I could think like a food pyramid.
anything food related. Yeah, food pyramid, anything food related. No, just a picture of a blue Pikmin.
Yep, yep. I'm actually not so familiar with team logos. What is this K?
That is
Camden.
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 Wait, yeah.
Oh.
That is Camden Artifice Parasail. And the last one we have there is Honkai, which ended up getting moved over with Yatal Tatal after we made these power rankings. So
Oh, okay, so this is not the full updated power ranking.
Yeah, well, there's only one team is different, and we would have also put that team in
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. Honestly, I can't be that offended. Are these ordered in the tier as well, or is it just like these are kind of
Every
separate?
everything except the top 12 line is ordered.
Yeah,
Okay.
and even then, Camden isn't. We agreed Camden is 9th, but like the 10th, 11th, 12th, they were all kind of in the same spot for us.
Yeah.
See, I was getting prepared to be super offended, but I'm not. I just can't be. This is like this is a cold take. This is just what we know.
Yeah, we conceded a lot when we were making the power ranking. And even when we did, we had like our bold predictions of who we thought were gonna win, and I think we had an FT win, 2 Metros, and a Snails. Like it wasn't.
Wasn't quite bold, but
Well, because I wanted to go really bold with it, but I'm like, realistically, like I can't. Metro was in the nice like middle ground where it's, they're not one of those, like they're not Snails, they're not FT Win, they're not Milky Way, they're not those big teams that we've seen at the top at like in basically like the world level, or at least the top of the Western scene, but they still had what it takes to win. Metro got the 2nd seed, they did make top 4, so that's like the boldest I felt like I could go without just saying like, hey guys, guess what, this rookie team is gonna win.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's. I mean, sometimes you gotta take those chances, so that way, like when it does happen, you get to go, "Oh, I told you so. I knew this." By the way, like I knew the secret sauce. It's totally this one. But
I
how
think
many of
that's
you
what
got
the
it right?
Vanguard pick was.
I got it right.
I mean,
well, in terms of
yeah.
winning, I predicted Snails.
Let's go.
But
it was only Fern that got the bold prediction correctly.
I mean, it wasn't bold.
That wasn't really too bold. Yeah, just looking result wise, I don't know how Snails does it and end up being that favorite to win. And we'll continue with that conversation on a bit later. But how would you grade these power rankings that we did?
F through S.
On like, F through S. Okay. I'll give you a solid. Wait, S. Oh. Do we have an S minus?
Do we have an S minus?
We do have an S minus. Yeah, it's like American grading system, but with like an S because it's Splatoon. We can even have an X if you would like.
Oh, okay.
Because Splatoon.
Are you making a tier list of our tier lists?
Perhaps.
I think
Are you gonna
perhaps.
have a tier maker with all the tier lists?
You should just keep making the picture smaller too, so that it's just like unreadable. So
Just be like,
crop this, and then put that in a tier maker, and then next week you can get the next person to do it as well. Then actually just have them keep rating as it gets smaller as well. So it'll work out. I'll give it at like an S minus for accuracy. The point is deducted for not enough ambition. Just let's put our faith in some of the underdogs a little bit more, and also I think we need to take down Vanguard peg. And if I get controversial here. I mean, they're just not cut out for our community. Am I right? Just maybe not Twitch streams.
yes.
Maybe.
Fight me.
Maybe.
See, we didn't know that till after the fact.
Yeah.
That was like during the watch party. We had like a live watch party, and looked over a blue sky and went, huh.
Oh.
Yeah.
We saw the gray post and we were like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I as much as I don't want to hurt their feelings, I kind of do. So,
that's so fair.
Yeah.
For what they did, they deserve to get flamed about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Get flamed all you want
Mhm.
for that behavior, and you're inviting yourself to it as well. So I'm, right now on the mic, I'm not a TO when I'm speaking. I'm speaking as someone who commentates on the scene. I'm going to say what I want. So I'll say
Mhm.
that. Um learn to behave. I would take them down a few tiers just for that. But clearly W's greater than sign morals.
Mhm. Beautiful. It, and with that being said, let's try to go through this event and build out the storylines that we can take out of it, because well, we definitely had a lot of unique, or not so unique but interesting matchups that happened, and one of those in particular, if I can just pull up the bracket on my own end, was the group stage for Moonlight. Be- Moonlight in round one ended up going 0-3 to Hypernova, and then later taking FT Win and Metro both to game fives. Able to take the win off of Metro in that game five, falling just short to FT Win in round number three. So Moonlight showing signs of life after a rough start, but that might be something interesting to look forward to as they continue to grow.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, I mentioned kind of before we got on here that
Mhm.
I didn't get much of a chance to look at the group stages for the tournament because I was busy getting prepared. But
Mhm.
I remember seeing a lot of the Moonlight stuff, and that was some of the stuff that I actually caught when I was able to hop on and get a good look at it. Uh that's absolute crazy work. And then like I know consistency is key with these types of teams, and to some degree there is like a bit of a rock paper scissors element to playing, especially when you have maybe more of a niche lineup with your comp, which isn't like textbook, all right, this is our Splatoon Western comp, yada yada yada. It's
Mhm.
going to have a slosher, it's going to have a pencil, and then everything else we can do whatever we want with. Moonlight doesn't usually follow the base template that we see nowadays, and so they kind of can run into these matchups that make things a little bit harder on them. I can see that happening with a team like Hypernova, where
Mhm.
they are now dealing with that kid who could just be giving them a hard time. Um, but like they have made such amazing strides as a team, and I'm like fully expecting them to stay together, knowing them as a group. I don't see them breaking up anytime soon, and that's one of those things that has proven to make these teams stronger over time. Like that's the reason
Mhm.
why healthy diet food groups has risen to the level that they are as well. So I like I'm not sure where I'm overall going with this one, but like I just expect to see Moonlight perform better in future tournaments. Like I think we could see them move on to that top 4 spot very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we?
I agree with that because I'm a Moonlight believer for sure.
Mhm.
It's because obviously there's the element of with them having consistent branding, consistent roster, it's easier to root for them. But again, having that determination and like just if anything, the stubbornness to just stick together and find a way through it. Because you did mention Dat Kid on the Brush in that first game did give them a lot of trouble. We were watching during like the watch party that match and just seeing how much difficulty Hypernova gave Moonlight just with the speed they were playing at. But I also Moonlight is the kind of team that they're going to look at that and go, okay, well, how do we stop this from happening? There's
Mhm.
not I don't think that those losses will not make them falter, especially again beating the number 2 seed Metro in a game 5 in round 5, even when it didn't even matter. Bringing FT Win to a game 5, almost getting that upset as well. Like, they have a lot of good stuff going for them.
Yeah, and to bring it back to that Hypernova set, do we feel like that could just be a comp difference where Hypernova just outbeat Moonlight? I don't want to say on weapon select, but effectively on weapon select, because they have Synapse with that 52. Henlo being very aggressive in their own right on whatever Splatana they want to bring out. Dat Kid on the brush. Like, there's so much movement, and with the assumption that Synapse wants to go with that V52, that's almost a complete shutdown on Shadow because they play tent most of the time.
Right. I mean, it's the team with essentially 2 tent counters playing into the team that's practicing tent all the time. And we were talking about on the watch party that the teams that were running tent in the early half of the tournament were really not doing very well. I mean, even when they're playing 96, they have the wall, they have Kraken. Like, it is a bit of a struggle for Shadow, especially, and when you're playing that is one of your main aggro weapons, where Omega has been a bit more supportive on decav. It's a bit of a struggle to get going, especially when the other team is putting up so fast pace that's so much faster. So I think it's a little bit of a comp diff. I mean, Hypernova is also just a really good team. Like, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that they beat Moonlight just by beating Moonlight. But no, I think clearly, like, there was some aspect of they struggled just against the comp in particular.
Yeah, definitely. It's just another thing that I am personally surprised to see here, but also not really surprised. Group A, round 5, Yalto Tossel versus Paracel, where Yalto Tossel ended up getting that 3-1 victory to close it out, coming in as the team that wasn't really supposed to make it to begin with. They were number 13 on the leaderboard, but with Honkai unable to show up, Yalatozo is going to, or was that team to make it in. And taking out Paracel, which is another up-and-coming team with some players that are experienced in SendouQ finales in the past.
Though, that being said, we did see Yaddle Toddle, they got other wins throughout the bracket. If you look at the overall, Parasail went 1 in 15. Their only game win was against Yaddle Toddle in round 5, which is very unfortunate because they went the entire day without taking a single game off of any other team, and that's not how you want to go about it. So Yaddle Toddle, again, bringing Candon to a game 5, going 1-3 against Vanguard. You know, they had a bit more going for them. And when you're in SendouQ, you know, a lot of these lower seeded teams are in kind of their own category. We kind of talked about that in the pre-show last week. But so they are kind of competing against each other, and it just that they ended up on the top, where, you know, Parasail, and same with Artifice too, also going 1 in 15 in Group B, just didn't have the best day. It could have, you know, it's maybe another day they would have done a bit better, but unfortunately, you know, they just weren't fully prepared the day of.
Yeah, definitely. And looking over towards the top cut now, it was pretty much normal as we could expect it to be. Snails, Metro, FT Win, Milky Way, and Milky Way in their own right, experienced players. Metro on the rise players. They're competing with these top teams. FT Win, they've proved themselves many times in the past, and Snails, we'll talk a little bit more about them later. But is there really anything that is key to note about looking at these matchups individually or even in game?
I I don't know. When I look at these four teams, I don't really like I don't read this as like these are people who are up and coming. Maybe at this point I've just like inventoried a lot of these players into my brain a bit. Like Milky Way just reads as like a
Mhm.
different like okay, I hit the randomized sim button on Sayonara and this is what came out. Like I it's it's a lot of just old names getting thrown together. And that's kind of more or less what the top level scene has been, more or less. Like people just play musical chairs for as long as they want. And it kind of leads to a lot of weird situations like these because at that point you kind of understand what every player kind of operates on. Like if I'm Jared and I'm playing against Kyo, I know what he's doing. If I'm Goss and I'm playing against Yeti, I probably have a good idea of what he's going to do in these games. So I don't think any of these teams should have gone into that top 4 feeling surprised by what they saw. Like I think any of them should have gone into this pretty well prepared. I know they didn't have a lot of time between groups and Top Cut to get prepared, but like at that same note, like it should just be kind of natural at this point. Like they should have a basic understanding of what they're gonna see. So I I I think that also when you remove that element from this game, it becomes just a pure competition of who can do this better. And that's more or less what I saw. A lot of times you'll see players in the top cut, I'm not going to name names, kind of play ego check and just say, well, no one's going to challenge this. But when you have no one surprised that that's how you play, you just play ego check. They're going to band up and group up and play a certain way to deal with it, and I feel like that's kind of what we saw.
Oh, I definitely agree. I was pointing that out a little bit in the watch party as well, where you had some players where they're just like, hey, let's do this. Let's try to force the other team to look at me, but oh no, I cannot get out alive anymore. So it's like, was that really a worthwhile play at all? Like who even knows about that? And more looking towards those finals now, where we have a really huge question at hand, which is Gray and U Leader on the road to become known as the best of the West in this current day of age?
I think Gray has kind of been on that trajectory for a while. U Leader, I'm gonna be honest and say that I haven't been following as closely, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But it felt like everything was like circling back to Gray in those games. Like S Blast on top of like it's definitely one of the highest skill ceiling weapons in the game. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. But I thought uh every play that Gray made was pretty darn smart. I very rarely had anything to say, and when I did, it was just like funny coincidence. Like this is like a minor slip up and probably nerves because you're in grand finals of a huge tournament. So looking at that, like I think Gray has been on that grind for a while, and if he is ending up on the top, it's well deserved. And I think this event is a good sign of it. But we also have to look at things in the lens of the fact that Splatoon is a team game. So you could isolate a player and say, well, I think this guy is better than Gray on his own. Well, Gray plays with his teammates like nobody else and still does the
Mhm.
crazy shit you're doing. So, like, make it make
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny combination because again, it's especially in the discussions we had earlier today, where it does seem like the Japanese scene as well does have a lot of individual focus, similar to how the Western scene's been tending. It's how can you be the best player you can possibly be, but also how can you be the best teammate you can possibly be. Because like you said, it's if there is somebody who's better than Gray mechanically, better than Gray strategically, are they going to win against a pickup that Gray is on? It doesn't matter how good you are as a player individually. If your Sendo results page doesn't have constant first place, are you actually the best player?
Mhm.
It's just my teammates, bro. It's just my teammates. Like,
Yeah.
just get me on a team. I'll make a super team. This is a
All right,
deep
get me
cut
on a
joke.
team
Let
with
me-
3 Grays, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah, I want Kiver. I want
Give me Gray, give me Kiver, give me another top player that's been around for years, and
play
we
an
will
Alliance
have the
Rogue.
best team.
we got to start
Yeah.
doing like fantasy drafts for Splatoon where we just start
There
like
was
picking for individuals and just say like this would be like a good team, but we don't have like a consistent like format or like league or like set of tournaments to like give points to people for that fantasy bracket. You know, if because who knows if a player is going to play in a tournament. We have some of these top players who only show up once every couple of months to play in a single event just to remind you that they're good, and they disappear again.
we used to have at one point in Splatoon 2, there was a like tournament where it picked like a A-B-C team from North America and Europe, and they like played each other in a tournament. And I remember, I think it was someone being mad that Bran got on the C team.
I don't remember that format. But I remember Tassel. Is that it?
It might have been like Tassel All Stars.
Oh, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the K-bot EU versus NA.
Yeah.
Lovely
Mhm.
series.
Yeah, but I'm scrolling through Gray's individual results here, up until this past New Year, and yeah, that's one thing I was going to point out, which thank you CKK, that where you leader made a tweet saying that themselves and Gray have only lost to 2 tournaments since October. And just looking at Gray's individual results as well, there is 1 second place result in the past in the past 6 months, and only 3 of those do not have you leader on that roster.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of figured out how not to lose, and I think Gray as well, in my experience, like doesn't play a lot of like quick pickups, it seems. I mean, he plays with pickup teams, but not in like random SOS runs, like or random paddling pool runs, like a lot of other higher to top level players will. And just to like pull out a stat thing, the highest KA average in top 4 is U, and you can say like, oh, it's just pencil like assists, and like the second highest is Gray. So the duo is putting up numbers. Like, and they're winning. What, they won 7 out of 8 games they played in top 4. So maybe a whole tournament the stats are different, but I mean, I think more of the question is like, not that are they the best of the West, because it's like, what else do they have to do to show that they are? I feel like at this point it's like, how long or how high are they above everyone else at some point?
Yeah, just looking at general stats as well, that's brought up here. Looking at KA average, U leader Gray top 2 easily, and even looking at U leader, only an average of 2 deaths, which is the second lowest from what I see here.
Now the funny part of that is that you died twice in 6 out of the 8 games that he played in top 4. So it's almost like perfect.
Yeah, it's crazy. just how dominant they've been doing this, and looking at that death average as well. Yeah, Gray is towards the bottom, but they're still getting those KA to help out, especially playing that blaster position that we were mentioning a bit as well. Like, what's the point when you can just pretty much explode someone right away?
Yeah. I mean, as a side note, I will bring up the fact that like KA aside and everything, Noah is Noah slash U leader is sitting at the very top of the
Mhm.
standings for SendouQ right now. Like period, just number one ranked player. That's like 20 points ahead of anybody else. So you can even like look at this tournament in a bubble and go, okay, well, like these are probably pencil assists, but you can't really deny like the set win that you need to do to get to that point in that kind of leaderboard.
Yeah, it's just crazy how dominant like U leader has been in this solo queue. Like you said, over 20 points above number 2, which is Kyo, which we all know is one of the best players that NA has had to offer since ever, kind of.
Yeah. It's harder to think of like a more consistent North American player than Kyo. That's for a
Mhm.
fact.
Yeah. So 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 with that, SendouQ as a whole, how do we think the event ended up turning out? Do we think that the hype around it was deserved?
Well,
Um,
I
you first, yes.
yeah, I was gonna say I think it was an interesting one because I think starting out it was very hype. Like
Mhm.
the group stage had a lot of matches that didn't go exactly as planned. Like there was a lot of sets that we on paper shouldn't go to a game 5 that did, and just seeing all those interesting matchups and where we did the watch party, we were watching a bunch of different POVs and looking for the interesting stuff. Whereas I feel like with like, just the main IPL stream, maybe you might have missed some of that action, but especially the top cut was kind of a disappointment. Seeing 2 sweeps in the semifinals and then the finals being a rematch that was previously a 3-0 sweep in the group stage ends up being a little bit of a letdown because you look at that grand finals, you look at Snails versus Milky Way and you say, okay, well, Snails just swept Milky Way earlier today. Is there any universe where Milky Way comes back and wins 4 games to take this best of 7? And they did win a match, but ultimately it was Snail's game, like, to win for sure. So I think personally, their group stage had a lot of interesting stories that could have been created, but it ended up kind of dying down towards the end of the finals.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it was I would see all these VCs on Discord and there was just like people with like 20 streams, like 20 tabs open
Mhm.
of different POVs, like Coco Melon style, like watching like the second one game ends, just click on another tab and find one that's still going, just on and on, like make sure there's something always going on. So like the event was very well tended to. I was really happy to see the scene get that excited for a tournament because nowadays it feels like a lot of the excitement has been going down for a lot of players. But on the other side of that, a lot of people have been getting very like renewed excitement for the scene, myself included. I've been like, okay, I want to play again. I want to do good. Um we let things die down a little too soon. Let's get the ball rolling once again and show them what's good. So I've been very like happy to see the scene kind of get hype for something once again. And I think like it's crazy the difference that little tiny balance patches make in the game because it just leads to people finding different solutions that work and it's less redundant and now we're dealing with a bit of a revival once again. So I'm glad to see it overall, and I'm you know I think it'll also lead to a larger interest in actually playing SendouQ this next season, both for myself and I'm sure plenty of others, because they now see the tangible result of doing good and what that grind results in. So it's nice.